Happy Monday, people, and welcome to another edition of the Emotions Room. It was a hectic weekend for sure. I thought football was going to be saved, but unfortunately, it was not saved. And Arsenal look like they've been handed the Premier League. But of course, we're going to go through the Sunderland game, what we think of that, what we think of that performance. We're going to go through what I've just started the show with, and that's Arsenal. Was that the right decision? Was it the wrong decision? Or more so, is it the right decision, but was it consistent enough with what the season has been doing, with what's been going on in the box for the majority of the season? And isn't this partly the reason why Arsenal are top of the Premier League? Because they've been allowed to do this sort of thing? Anyway, we're going to get into all of that, get into obviously Michael Carrick and him not being announced yet. So they seem to be biding their time. What are they waiting for? Are they waiting for the end of the season? But why? Why not get to work right now? Why not announce him right now? So we can start talking about real transfers. I have no doubt that that's going on behind the scenes. But if Carrick's the man, why not just announce him now? So players that are coming in know what's going on. Players that potentially want to come in know what's going on. Players like Marcus Rashford know what's going on. You know what I mean? Look, let's get into it. How are you doing, Dan? How you been? How was your weekend?
Yeah, not too bad. It's just a strange one, as people know that live in the UK watching that the game wasn't live in the UK. So that was a bit strange because it feels like I've watched all the games. They've been live either on TNT or Sky. But yeah, other than that, personally, weekend, fine. It just flies, doesn't it? It just flies. Weekend, it feels. But other than that, all good. Busy day today at work for people at work. But yeah. Yourself, how are you? How are you?
Yeah, same as me, man. I'm at work all bloody week. And weekend, I'm finally like, look, I've got some time at home. But there's always something on. Always a family event, whether it be my side, my wife's side.
Yeah.
So I'll wake up on a Saturday morning and boom, I've got to work out, get in the car, get things ready, get the little one ready. And I'm back out of the house. And you just feel like, bloody hell, I'm working all week to pay for this place. And I'm never fucking here. You know what I mean? So
who's enjoying it? Who's enjoying it? Not you.
Like who, apart from the bank and the fucking interest, who's enjoying it? Do you know what I mean? But that's the real life stuff we're talking about here, guys. But to get to the football, how do you feel about Man United? I haven't done a reaction to it. I haven't had a chance to see if you did one. I'm guessing you did.
I didn't actually.
No, yeah, we're both slacking, mate. We're both slacking. Look, for me, obviously it was a disappointing watch. I found it quite boring. And 0-0 does that, right? What I did find was I felt like, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm taking Carrick and his coaching staff and the team out of the firing line here. But I felt like Carrick was showing the board, this is what I've got to work with when I don't have all my players firing. Champions League's pretty much, it's done. It's done, right? It's done, right? Yeah. So I felt like Carrick was like, right, Xerxes, you can play. Right, Mason Mount, let's try you in midfield if we don't have Casemiro. I felt like, but maybe I'm giving him too much credit. You could tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I felt like Carrick was trying to let us, the fans, know and the board know, look, this is what we got to work with when Casemiro goes. This is what we've got to work with when Sesko's not available. It's not enough. And, if you give him the job next season and that's what he's working with, because, playing once a week's one thing. We've discussed this. So he's going to have to use this squad. And more often than not, the team you saw against Sunderland, I'm not saying Sunderland's a bad team, but that will be, a makeshift look of what the team will look like. I don't know. Shall we say 30% of the time? 40% of the time? And it wasn't good enough. Nowhere near. It was disjointed. Do you think I'm digging him out a bit here? Do you think I'm saving his result a bit here? Or was that what he was trying to do?
Yeah, I think you probably are. I think from my point of view, I wouldn't give him that credit to say that he was trying to expose the team for what it is to the board. Because, I've said before that I think Carrick knows more than he's letting on in regards to where this job's going. I think they've had positive conversations prior to the announcement, is what I believe. And I am very surprised, as you've said at the top of the show there, that they haven't announced Carrick already. Yeah. Very surprised. But in relation to the team and the lineup, I think he didn't explain what was wrong with Casemiro, but apparently he wasn't ready to play the game for whatever reason. Agate apparently picked up a knock. Sesko, as we know, has had some shin problems and got shoved into the advertising boards the other week by Konate. So,
which didn't even get picked up on, did it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And normally, if Sesko doesn't start, then Mbuma or Cunha play up front, whereas he's gone with Xerxes. So there's an element of what you're saying that you could probably think, oh, is he trying Xerxes just to expose? I don't know if part of it was a little bit shop window. Hopefully that he can just do something that sort of sparks the interest of the Italian league potentially. I couldn't really work out why Xerxes were playing. I know a lot of people have been asking for it. A lot of fans have been saying, why is he not playing Xerxes?
Me including. Yeah.
As you know, I don't, just as much as you don't fancy Mano, I don't fancy Xerxes. Yeah. I think Xerxes is poor. I don't think he is good enough for this league. I think he did all right in Italy, but didn't pull up any trees in Italy either. I don't know what position he plays in. He classes himself as a 9.5, whatever that means. False 9, you're a false 9 striker. So yeah, I think there's an element of we've secured Champions League. Let's give some fringe players or some players that haven't played much a run out, like Mason Mount in midfield. I've kind of called for that a little bit because when Casemiro's getting tired, I've called for Mount to come in with some legs into midfield and try and either come in with Casemiro and Mano just to give a bit more in midfield to close the game out, or come on instead of Agate, because I think he's got more to his game than Agate, Mason Mount, even in midfield, because I think Agate is so shit, basically. But I don't think it was so much, oh, bored, look at this, look how shit these players are. I'm not sure it was that. I just think it kind of I think it's a coincidence that, like I say, Agate was out, Casemiro's out, and I think we probably wouldn't have noticed so much if Casemiro had played and the crosses that were coming into the box, he got his head on one of them, scores, 1-0, we walk away from Stadium of Light, 1-0 winners, nobody's thinking about it, nobody's thinking about Xerxes being on the pitch. I just think it's just the circumstances, the fact that we've qualified, and I think he just wants to do that mates thing. Go on, Josh, have one of your last games before you leave. Go on, Mason, have a run out in midfield because I haven't played you much. I think it's more that, if I'm honest. I know it's a boring answer, but
no,
it's more
not that. It's not a boring answer. It's what you think, right? And
yeah,
I just looked at it and thought, maybe it's two ways. Again, the first thought was, is he trying to let everyone know? Look, the depth in squad I've got here is nowhere near what it needs to be quality wise. We may have numbers per se, but quality wise, it's not there. Or was that him learning that day before yesterday?
Yeah, I think it's answered some questions for him.
I mean, has he realized that? If I don't have my starting 11, I'm in trouble. And without Le Mans yesterday, I keep saying yesterday, but you guys get the drift. Yeah. Good grief, mate. Like, without him, I mean, we've been calling it, he's starting to make David De Gea-esque saves.
Yeah.
Without him yesterday, but you get the point. We would have lost that game. That game big time.
Man of the match for us.
He also brings Martinez back in. And this Aiden Heaven, who I wasn't a huge fan of, I think he's been excellent since getting a run of games, Aiden Heaven.
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of Martinez. I see what he brings to the team. I'm kind of done with him, to be honest.
Yeah, I've gone that way now, to be honest.
He was a good fit for the Ten Hag style of play, with a goalkeeper that plays out from the back. Well, we tried to get one of those, but that didn't. but you get the point. He kind of links. Yeah. He kind of links defense to midfield or defense to attack.
He does.
I was very much on the train of let's try him in midfield when we don't have options. Yeah. And I think if there's anything left for him in this club, it's that. I'd rather have played him in midfield, put Heaven at centre back, because I'm just kind of done with him at centre back, and I tell you why, mate. It's always a little elbow here. It's always a little niggle here. It's always a VAR check away of him getting sent off or giving away a penalty.
Yeah, it's always very close.
I'm just kind of like, I just don't like it, really. Him at centre back. I just don't think. I don't know if professional's the right word. I don't think he's got the right temperament to be a top centre back. Not his height, not his physicality. He hasn't got the right temperament.
He overcompensates a bit though as well, though, doesn't he? I suppose, yeah.
I think that the only thing left for him is to be a squad player and rotate in midfield from time to time when we're trying to see out a game, maybe. And even then, does he have the right temperament to see out a game?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
There's just a few players, mate, that played. And Mason Mount, I mean, you mentioned him and legs. And it's as if he forgot how to play football on this weekend, mate. He kept doing this little, like, touch over the top of a midfielder, it was just, he was awful. He hasn't played games, I know. Oh my God, there's so many players in that team that we need to move on from. And then, I'm drifting a little bit here, but it'll kind of be the question down the line. You start looking at other midfielders in the league. I watched the Newcastle Nottingham Forest game, right, ahead of the Arsenal game.
Yeah.
You got Bruno Guimaraes in there. You got Anderson in there who scored, Then you go watch the Arsenal game, Mateus Fernandes, who should have scored. But forget his job's not to score anyway. But if you look at him on the ball, Arsenal hardly pressed him. Everything he did was spot on. All the 1-2s, kind of intricate play, the way the ball moves throughout the West Ham team was through him. I mean, there's got to be at least 5 midfielders in the league we could probably get for 30, 40 million.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean? That completely transforms our team. I don't know, Dan. Is that going to happen, though? We're not announcing Carrick. I mean, what? I'm confused as to what's next, to be honest.
I'm struggling to know what they're waiting for, to be honest, because I was convinced they were just waiting to confirm Champions League. I think there's still an element with I call them Ineos, but still an element of Sir Jim and Barada and Wilcox where they are trying to save face a little bit. They are trying to recover their bravado when they first came into the club, where it's like best in class, we know what we're doing. That's been exposed a little bit when how they handled Erik ten Hag, how they did it with Amorim. They got the transfer window right in the summer in the main, but they've still got a way to go to convince fans that they're competent. And I think there's an element of let's make it seem like we're doing a real process to get the best coach in place, because they've already done this best in class thing. And if they end up plumping for Carrick, which it looks like they will do, they've got to kind of show that they've been considering things and they've been looking at things.
You think that's what they're doing? I see.
Well, the thing is, there's been I know they've been better at squashing leaks. I know that. I get that. And I'm grateful for that, because I don't like our club leaking so much.
Yeah.
But I think by now, though, if they were interviewing or really doing their due diligence on coaches, we will have heard something by now. All we're getting is like little bits of scraps where it's like, oh, they might be interested in Enrique, but that's more led by the fans wanting it and them just not commenting, because Manchester United are very good at this. If there's some positive things going on behind the scenes, but it's not true, they'll just stay quiet and stay zipped. If there's something that really hurts the club and they don't like it, they'll come out to the journalists and say, that's not true. So they'll go to a David Ornstein, for example, or a Fabrizio and say, that's not true. Put it out there, it's not true. Let's squash it straight away. So they like that positive PR stuff in the background. So when they're linked to Enrique, are they linked to Enrique? Have they spoke to him? I'm not so sure they have. Iriola was coming up sort of slightly recently. They haven't squashed that per se. So it's just a strange one, because you're hearing no comments about interviews or who they're linked with strongly. I mean, a strong link as well. And it's worrying, because even if they, and it's a little bit like what Goldbridge just said in his show, I don't mind if they do the due diligence, they speak to coaches, they interview coaches, and then they'll land on Carrick and say, you know what, we've taken everything into account and Carrick's the best fit for right now because of A, B, C, D, and E. But as it stands, all these sort of potential links have kind of gone by the wayside. If we kept saying Tuchel's gone, Ancelotti's gone, Enrique looks like he's gone now because he's going to be signing a new contract potentially. Even I've started thinking about Mourinho the other day. I know you probably won't mind him back anyway, but I started thinking about Mourinho the other day purely because I just think if we're going to play football like Saturday, I'd prefer to play football like Saturday under Mourinho because Mourinho will actually got the nous to get you over the line. Whereas I don't think Carrick's got that. So I've even dropped down. I mean, I've been up and down, as you know, but I've even dropped my, not standards is probably wrong because Mourinho is a very good coach.
Yeah.
2026 Mourinho, I'm not sure. But would I have him over Carrick? I think I would. I would. So the fact that we aren't linked to people that are available, and again, I want to be linked to Iriola, not because I want him, but because I want to know that our club, our guys that are meant to know what they're doing, are actually exploring things. If Iriola's available, which we all know he is, I want to know he's on your list and you're thinking about it. I want to know that Pochettino's on your list. I don't mean that I want Pochettino.
Yeah.
That he's on the list and you're thinking about him and you're ruling him out because you're using your expertise to rule him out. I want to know that there's data involved. I want to know that there's the eye test involved. And again, going back to some coaches that are available, and not even the ones that are not readily available, but you can just go in there and say, I want you. I mean, someone was saying the other day, just really quickly, so I don't want to go off on a tangent.
Go for it, mate.
I forget his Alonso. Now, again, I'm not saying I want Alonso, by the way, because I'll get PTSD from Amorim's system and stuff like that. I know he's possibly a little bit more flexible than Amorim was. I don't know. But there was comments coming out saying that Alonso was offered up and we've just discarded it out of hand. I don't know how you could discard Alonso out of hand when your other option's Carrick. You can't just discard it out of hand when your other option's Carrick for me. So I just think there is, even like you guys have mentioned Simeone before, at least be a consideration though. I might not want Simeone, but I know he's a good coach for what he does, what we know him for. He's done bits and pieces.
With the budget that he has, you have to say the geezer's done all right, although he should be ashamed of his performance against Arsenal in the semi-final, in my opinion. Yeah. But, I mean, he did knock out Barcelona, who just won the league last night, and beat Real Madrid. Yeah. And he's always there or thereabouts with a small budget. They're very smart in the transfer market, getting players like Alvarez and then probably reselling them for whatever amount. Look, we've seen this before from Ineos.
Yeah, I mean, really quickly before maybe you go on to this comment as well. I can't remember where this coach is, but I don't know how true it is. But there was a link to a coach, and I'm sure it was at is it Bayern Munich coach? Maybe they're now one of the coaching staff, and we're linked or loosely linked to a coaching staff from Bayern Munich. Now, again, I don't know anything about this member of staff. And I might be just thinking, oh, that sounds good because he's at Bayern Munich. It doesn't really mean much other than he's at Bayern Munich. But my point is that if they're doing things where they're saying, right, let's say we're going to stick with Carrick, but are they seeing what we're seeing? And I can talk for myself where I'm not saying I'm going to be happy with Carrick, but if I'm going to keep Carrick, and I've said this before, nothing against Holland, nothing against Woodgate per se, but I want to see a couple of really good elite coaches that can start to take players to a next level coming in to complement. And I think Carrick needs some help personally. So, okay, I can let you make some day-to-day decisions, picking the team, doing the odd bits of substitutions, that sort of thing, that you're the face. But I'd like to see like Mullenstein in the past, Queiroz in the past, where they're doing things in the background underneath Fergie. Fergie's the face. Fergie's doing what he needs to do, but he's got some really good coaches in the background that's getting the players to the level that they need to be at. If I saw that, at least I'd be a bit more confident knowing that they're looking at that and they're trying to better our coaching staff, because that's my one fear about the current coaching staff is, can they make a potential player that comes through our door better? Can they? I mean, I think Ahmad's gone. I'm with you on your train now, but I'd like a coach that could look at Ahmad and say, I can get something out of you, and this is how I'm going to do it. or I can make you a little bit better, Cunha. I can make you a bit better, Mbermo.
Mm.
Again, you're not quite at your prime yet, so I can just get you over that level so that you're ready for Champions League. You're ready for multiple games a week. That's kind of what I'm after now. If we're sticking with Carrick, so
Yeah.
that's
I
the
mean,
thing.
by the sounds of it, you're pretty convinced that you don't want Garrick as
It's
your manager.
not so much not wanting. It's just that I think I think I said to you before, David. There's certain questions I want answered before the end of the season. So he's met his objective of getting us into the Champions League, and I'm grateful for that. I'll never take that away from him.
Really well done. Really well done.
I really like Carrick as a person, what he's done for the club as a player, but. And I think he would even agree himself. He will want Manchester United as a fan himself, watching the games, right up until he got the job, watching the games with the rest of other. I mean, there was footage of him watching a game with Michael Owen and Ferdinand and stuff like that. So he's a massive fan of Manchester United. So I'm sure he wants the best for the club. He might think he can be the best for the club, and that's good. But ultimately, he wants the best for the club, just like we do. And I just think it's not so much I don't want Carrick. I just wanted him to answer some of the questions before the end of the season, and I'm not sure he did for me. He's got us into Champions League, as I said, but did he answer the questions in terms of when shit hits the fan? Can you make the big calls to turn things around? Okay, he did that substitution at halftime the other day against Brentford, and you could say it worked. But I still need to see a little bit more tactical nous, a little bit more style of play. And I'm not going too far with that to say it needs to be Pep or anything. I just want something I can hang my hat on and say, even when we're not playing well, I can see a pattern there. And that will work its way through into the next game and get us a result. And at the moment, I think we're relying heavily on Bruno to get assists, and we're relying heavily on Casemiro. And there's a stat that there's games where Casemiro hasn't started or hasn't played and we haven't won the game. So there's too much reliance on a player that's leaving and a player that's 31 who love Bruno, obviously.
Yeah.
But we can't. I mean, again, and Burmo, how much have we been hurt by his form, for example? So Cunha, luckily with Cunha, he stepped up, started hitting a bandor, and he's been scoring goals for us, getting important penalties and stuff like that. But we can't just rely on moments of one player each time. We've got to have more of a team performance, and that's what I don't think Carrick's doing for us at the minute, personally.
Yeah, I mean, look, I take all your points on board, and I don't disagree with any of them. What I will say is, I was being patient with Amorim. I was kind of behind him. I wasn't behind him initially. I thought he was absolutely awful from when he first came in, right?
Yeah.
And I guess he brought my standards down so low, and I've said this before, that I started kind of being a bit more patient and thinking, look, this ain't going to change. They're behind Amorim. Let's see how this goes. But I'm not going to make this an Amorim story. What I'm trying to say to you is, now I've got a manager that has beaten Arsenal, has beaten Man City, has beaten Chelsea, has beaten Liverpool. I mean, have I missed anyone else that? I mean, Chelsea. I think I said that.
And I don't think Fergie ever did that.
I mean,
that, to be fair.
It's been sensational, to be honest. And
yeah.
That's all I can ask. I mean, the reason I started this monologue with Amorim is I would have bit not just your hand, your foot. You know what I mean? For a manager to come in and finish the season with beating all of those teams, because I would have at least come out of there thinking, "Oh my God, amazing! I've had so many great moments beating these top teams." I mean, that as a fan, you want to win those games, right?
Of course, yeah.
You go into those games, you're nervous, you're excited, and we've performed. And it's got us third in the Premier League. And I can't deny that that's absolutely fantastic. And I don't see how any other manager in the world, whether it be Enrique, whether it be Jose Mourinho, whether it be Pep himself, would have come in after Amorim and done better than Carrick. Honestly, I don't see how they would have done better than Carrick on the surface, right? When you talk about results, what he's delivered. And at the end of the day, mate, that's all that matters. Now, I know in the background, has he improved players? Does he really know what he's doing? How much of this is Steve Holland? I take all of that into account, right? But blimey, the geezer's done a fantastic job. And this is why he's definitely in the running to get it. Right?
Yeah.
It's a hard one to deny him the job when you consider all of this. Before I go through the chat and the questions that have come in from Michael, what I will ask you is, Carrick's done all of this with a skeleton quality of a squad, let's say. Granted, we know he's playing once a week. We know that. And that's going to be a big part of what happens next year, right?
Yeah.
Do you think if he got 4 or 5 signings that had the impact that our forward line signings have had and Le Mans has had, you don't think that would be enough for him to maybe replicate this season to next season? So get third again. I mean, would that be, that's a 2-part question here. Would that be enough for you? So do you think if he got more players in, this is question number 1. And again, I'll go through the chat, and Michael, thank you so much. I know you've sent a lot of questions in. I will go through every single one, but I'm asking you this as well. Do you think he can replicate next season if he gets the players in? Question number 1. And question number 2, would that be enough for you guys that we just get third next year?
Yeah, so if he gets the players where it's the transfer window is as good as, if not better, than the summer, because I am quite impressed with the summer transfer window in terms of the players that came in and how they performed overall.
I mean, it's taken us from 15th to 3rd.
Yeah,
transfer window.
Of course.
Especially, before you go off, you've kind of called us Moments FC. I agree, right? And that kind of cements the fact that the signings in the summer have gotten us third rather than the manager, right? More or less.
Yeah, you could say that to a certain extent. I think there's 2 ways of looking at it before, weren't there, in terms of Carrick, assessing Carrick in its entirety. There's an element of Carrick coming in, doing the basics right, putting the players in the right positions, as we've all said. You touched on a Pep coming in and trying to do the same job. Probably wouldn't work because probably be similar to his first season at City, to be fair, where he's trying to implement his style. He's come in and he's been brought in to play a certain way. He'll be more stubborn than the usual, probably, well, just as stubborn as Amorim. And for that reason, it's trying to get players on board with your style, but maybe realizing that the players can't play your style, so needing the right players to play it. So therefore, do you finish lower in the league? Probably. So Carrick coming in, he's utilised the strengths of the current team. He's put players in the positions that they play best in. Although Bermo, I felt played really well as one of the 10s and has been impacted since moving out wider, strangely.
But I mean, he was out wide for Brentford, right?
That's what I'm about to say. He was out wide for Brentford, so you are playing in the position that you used to. So and he does like to cut in. So it's a strange one, so I can't work that one out. But yeah, getting the right players, mimicking that sort of window that we've had in the summer, you would expect that he can replicate what he's done this season, at least get third and maybe push either City or Arsenal, whichever one of those 2 drops to second or stays where they are even, and push them a little bit closer maybe. But pushing them closer with other teams, because again, I've got to throw this in there, I would expect other teams to be better next season. So if even Spurs, if they escape relegation, I'd expect the confidence they'll get from that and playing De Zerbi's system, they would push up a little bit more.
There's no reason why they can't do what we done, go from 15th to 3rd.
Exactly. With the right signings, the right backing, getting the players. I mean, whatever we think of De Zerbi, looking at his Brighton days, wasn't too bad. I don't know what he did at Marseille. I didn't really follow it, to be fair. But I'd expect him to be way better, is what I'm trying to say. Chelsea, the same. Liverpool, the same. I mean, that is such a drop for Liverpool. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but... And this is the thing.
You have to assume that these teams are going to improve.
They're going to be better. Yeah, you'd expect that. And you might even expect that City going harder again with more players coming in and getting the right players for Pep again that can play his system. And if he gets a proper replacement for some of these players that I feel he's missed over the years, like your Sanes, like your De Bruynes and what have you, David Silva and stuff like that. I think if he can get players back up to that sort of level, he's going to be flying again. So if we want to really challenge, we've got to get our transfer window right first and foremost. Now, can Carrick, is that enough to finish third is one of your questions. I think it is next season, because I think our next goal's got to be get the right players, get a good squad, compete in all the cups. So compete, maybe not so much Carabao Cup, but at least compete in FA Cup, at least compete in Champions League, and not embarrass ourselves. Because if we were in Champions League this season and faced PSG, Bayern, who else, even Barcelona, to be fair, I think it would get quite ugly for us playing against teams like that right now. But if we can get the right players that can compete in the Champions League and make an account for ourselves and then get Champions League again for a second time in a row, that's kind of our target, I feel, next season. Now, the next target is the following season. Can Carrick take us over that threshold where we start to push for the league? That's where I've got my doubts.
Fine. So you're to summarize kind of what you've just said. A third next season would be an improvement on this season because you're assuming that other teams would improve, which I think is a fair analysis.
Yeah.
And you'd want maybe a trophy to go along with that. And
not so much a trophy, but a good run. Because what I'm saying is that I'm trying to think when we last did back-to-back Champions League qualification. I can't even think when that was.
Yeah.
It's got to be It's got to be a long time ago since we've done back-to-back Champions League finishes. So I'm wanting back-to-back Champions League finish so that you can actually start to grow on that. So it's all right this season getting Champions League and then players think, oh, you're in Champions League, I'll come to your club. But then what do you do next season when you want to just get one or two players that are going to push you over the line, but then you're back in Europa League or you're not even in Europa League? You're going to go back to square one where you're fishing in that lower market then, that market that Spurs shopping and Newcastle shopping. So you're going to have all these players on your list. So you're going to drop down to Voltemida and Waltermada and whoever else. You're going to drop down to that level. Whereas we've been lucky because our name pinched Sesko off them. Our name pinched Zuma off them. But who's going to pinch players off us? City will pinch players off us. Arsenal will. In our heyday, Arsenal's not pinching players off us.
No.
The players that they had that were good is
we signed their best players when we feel like it.
Exactly. When we felt like it, we took a player off you. So like a Van Persie.
I'll tell you what we would do now if the shoe was on the other foot, like back in the day. If Bruno was playing for Arsenal, we'd sign Bruno.
We'd sign Bruno. Yeah, we would. And that's what we've done. We've taken players off Newcastle in the past, taken players off Leeds when they were good, took players.
Spurs.
Newcastle were roaring high, and we took Andy Cole off them, for example. So, and we could have took Shearer away from Blackburn.
Yeah, but we got Solskjaer instead
to back home. So, again, we're not in that position. So the problem is going to be, especially if we're not in a Champions League back-to-back, if we're tussling for a player with City, we're going to probably lose, like the Semenyo tussle, for example. We're probably going to lose because Semenyo's saying, better coach at City, you're in the Champions League, and you're likely to win something. At Manchester United, it's turmoil there. Because again, if you're an outsider trying to look in, all you're probably seeing is players get worse, they don't play as well anymore, there's too much pressure there, they haven't won anything for ages, there's that hoodoo, from Fergie days, they just haven't recovered. City, okay, the charges are there, but I'll take the risk because I'll probably get a cup or two. I'll get some money.
And Pep working for Pep is
exactly.
You're going to learn a lot, right?
Arteta, unfortunately, sorry to sour the show, but if Arteta gets over the line, he's going to start getting players wanting to go to Arsenal. And that's the other side of it. Yeah, so, and to be fair, I don't actually think Arteta's a bad coach anyway. I think he's a decent coach. I think he's got a lot of wacky ideas when he brings speakers in and starts playing the, you Never Walk Alone anthem to play against Liverpool. And then getting people to fake a pickpocketing session, stuff like that. Yeah. He's come out with some wacky ideas, but from a coaching perspective, day to day, learning from Pep, bringing some of that style into Arsenal. I know it didn't work that sort of first season, and he's sort of got a bit more conservative this season. But if he gets over the line and gets a Premier League and maybe,
Mate,
dare I say it, a double and gets a Champions League this season, because
he'll be their greatest ever manager.
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, you've already got people thinking he's better than Fergie, so you know.
He'll be their greatest ever manager if he does that. And exactly. You've got delusional fans.
So,
it was probably clickbait, but saying he's better than Fergie, you know. But if that's the case, Slot's the best manager ever, right? Because he's won. This is it.
And it's like, and I know we beat City, and I really love the fact that we beat City. But I think even if we did beat City home and away next season with Carrick, he still struggled a little bit with the smaller teams. And I think you've got to do a bit of both. Like Arsenal, one of Arsenal's biggest crimes was they couldn't beat City when it mattered. They couldn't beat Liverpool when it mattered. They haven't beat us back-to-back this season.
They're still kind of like that with that. Yeah.
They've just done a little bit better with the smaller teams this season, because I think Gyökeres is a bit of a bully when it comes to the smaller sides, and he gets a goal here and there. And to be fair, he's done what he's been brought in for, Gyökeres, to a certain extent. So I think they've done a little bit better against the smaller sides, and that's taken them that bit further now. And obviously they've taken advantage that other teams haven't been as good and City haven't been as good. But my point is, when you've got Carrick there, who, when the cameras are zooming into him, when things aren't going quite right, I'm still seeing, I'm not saying he can't put his hand on his chin, I do, but put your hand on your chin and it's like, Steve, lad, can you just come up here and tell us what I do next? Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not here trying to defend Carrick. No. The guys that are viewing will know I say it how I feel, whether it be right or wrong. And do I think he's not absolutely clueless, but do I think sometimes he looks that way and kind of looks over his shoulder to Steve Holland, like, can you give me a hand here? I don't know what I'm going to do here. But I was watching Arteta yesterday against West Ham, putting Declan Rice at right back, speaking to Gabriel Hintze and whoever the other fella is with his headphones in. And they were fucking clueless themselves yesterday. They did not have a Scooby-Doo what to do after Ben White got injured. Putting Rice right back almost lost him the fucking title. So what I'm saying is, it's a fucking game of fine margins, isn't it? And we'll get on to Arsenal's margins and how their title got handed to them yesterday and all season. But the point is, I'm not trying to defend Carrick, but it's pretty normal, right, to sometimes be humble enough to go, I need some help.
And that's been a criticism of his, that he hasn't done that enough at Middlesbrough. I get that. It's just more the over-reliance on that for me sometimes.
Agreed. Let me go through some of these comments, because we've got some piling up here from earlier. Heaven should be ahead of Martinez now, so Martinez should try playing the Casemiro role. So exactly what I was saying earlier in the show, and this is when the message came in, right?
He played there against Sunderland. Yeah,
we should have played him there against Sunderland. I think the centre-back days of Martinez, we need to move on.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work. He's always, he almost gave away a penalty, I think, again with a little elbow. I think it was in the penalty box, and I was scratching my head thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, mate. You've only just come back, and it's Romero 2.0 vibes. And
Cup's going to be interested with them two at the back.
Oh my God, I'm all for the passion. I'm all for the passion in that, right? But he's just starting to become a bit of a liability, and we just don't need it, right?
Yeah. I
didn't finish that. Sorry. Too slow to be paired with anyone at the back. Yeah, he's aggressive, almost like a David Luiz. That's a fair point as well. Mount should go Coventry City. They would need this quality, and he should drop the 7 search. He's disgracing it. Well, Lampard absolutely loved Mason
so he can
Mount.
go back to his football dad.
Mate, go there, because this just has not worked from start to finish at Man United. Wow.
Yeah.
He's got to be one of the worst signings ever.
We spent a lot of money on him.
Yeah, he's up there.
We got him back, Chelsea, though. Garnacho.
We did. We're getting back, but he's got. I'd still place Garnacho a better player than Mount.
Well, it was more reliable. He could play every match. That's
Mason
one thing.
Mount's an awful signing. Another Ten Hag madness that was. Simeone would be a bad mix for us. It's better to get back Jose. I agree. We should be doing more than keeping quiet, but they don't want Amorim 2.0 because it was an open secret we wanted him after Eric Ten Hag. Meaning, like, I think what Michael's saying is he doesn't want too much going on as to who we're getting next. Fair enough, but I mean, who are we getting next? I mean, I know you say Iraola, but I mean, I'm a bit clueless as to who's next. I bet Moyes would have done better than Carrick, given that all the players needed was to be put in the right positions. Yeah, I mean, he's basically saying that all that Carrick's done. I'm sure that's not all he's saying, but by playing these players in the right position, it's improved our fortunes. And to a degree, yes. But you can't tell me putting these players in the right positions are the reason we beat Arsenal, beat Man City, beat Liverpool, beat Chelsea.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, you got to give him some credit, you know.
Yeah.
Third next year with a trophy would be enough, but the year after we need to go for the title. He's obviously answering the question that I asked you, which is third enough to is repeating what we did this year enough for next year? You know, what do you want from him? Yeah, Spurs might just pull a Leicester on the league. This is when we says, like, you know, Liverpool are going to improve. Chelsea, you would assume, are going to improve.
I'd have thought so, yeah.
Spurs, if they stay up, which looked likely after yesterday's poor decision or inconsistent decision, shall I say.
Oh, yeah.
Have sent West Ham down, to be honest with you. Jonathan comes in and says, big up, boys. Big up, Jonathan. Thanks for being here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the last manager to take us back to UEFA Champions League. That's crazy. Didn't Ten Hag take us there? Ten Hag took us there, didn't he? I don't know why I'm confused, mate.
No, he must have done because we've finished.
Onana got us knocked out.
Yes, but
Onana got us knocked out.
Yeah, because I'm sure we finished third with Ten Hag.
Yeah.
One season, so yeah, he must have got us in Champions League.
Onana got us knocked out of Champions League, and I think that's when we dropped down to Europa League.
Because you forget Erik Ten Hag didn't do too bad overall when you think about it, in a way. Obviously, towards the end, it wasn't great, but in terms of 2 cups and Champions League finish, when you think about what some of the coaches have done, it's not too bad.
Jonathan's obviously come in when we were talking about we used to sign Arsenal's best players, Rashford going to Arsenal. I mean, we're going to touch base on Rashford a little later in the show. We spent a lot of time on Carrick, United, and what's next, because I mean, we're all confused, right? We don't know what's next. We still have a bigger pull than Arsenal, even if they win the league, which they won't, by the way. I'm not, you know, I hate Arsenal, you know that. I am not sure we have a bigger pull than Arsenal if they win the league.
Not if they win the league, I don't think so. No.
And if they win the Champions League, call blimey, there's no reason they can't sell the fact that Kylian Mbappe, who's had like 30, 40 million petition signings to get rid of him from Real Madrid, there's no reason he can't be the second coming of Thierry Henry at Arsenal.
Well, yeah, good point.
There's no reason. And if I was Arsenal, that's what I would be doing right now.
That's what we're doing next, yeah. If you can get that Champions League over the line and get the title.
I know he disrupts things, but the geezer still scored like 40-odd fucking goals this year or whatever, right? I'm not being funny, mate. The second coming of Thierry Henry, come to Arsenal, come take us to that next level.
Yeah.
That's what I would be doing if I was Arsenal. Midfield these weeks, the changes are really hard, especially when you know there's no good change. Did he not see Moyes as manager? I think he might be talking to to Michael. Look,
manager. Jesus.
Midfield is mega weak, right? And I said this earlier in the show. I could probably name 4.
I'm worried, you know. I'm a bit worried, you know, about that. Before you go too further forward, I'm just going to say the comment. I'm a bit worried about what our midfield's going to look like next season. I mean, very worried about that.
I watched the Sunderland game, and I mean, listen, this is not going to be the Mainu dig out show, but for Mainu to perform,
he were lost without Casemiro.
For Mainu to perform at the level that you guys that support him a lot.
But it was next to Mason Mount, though.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. He needs top quality around him.
Without a doubt.
He's not clawing no midfield and dominating it.
No way.
I mean,
it's not.
Even putting a Mateus Fernandes. I mean, I'm sure everyone watched that Arsenal game. Forget the fact that he should have slotted that goal. I thought he was fantastic yesterday. Tackles, making the right decision on the ball, passing forward, linking up play. Even putting him next to Mainu is a huge improvement. If West Ham get relegated, what do we get him for? 30 million?
I think we've got to consider him if they get relegated, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I can see why you're worried. Ugarte is not the answer.
Well, really quickly, Ugarte needs to go, and even if he stayed, you can't play him. Casemiro is going, and I know he's not doing much of what we've got him for in the first place per se, but one thing he is doing is settle down. He settles Mano down, and they complement each other. But going forward, in terms of the players that we've been linked to, Anderson's going City in here. Let's be honest. And I'm not saying that he's the be all and end all anyway, but I think Anderson's going to City. I think that's nailed on. We got linked to what's his face from Atalanta the other day, and I'm not so sure about him because he's a player that Edison is a player that doesn't get into the national side, and I don't think that national side's midfield's that great. So how are you not getting in there?
Yeah.
So and again, do we get the two from Newcastle? Not. I don't know if we do. So Baleba is coming. I'm convinced Baleba's coming. But past that, I think we struggle if we don't. We've got to bring in at least two, but I'm thinking three. And I'm just worried, where do you go next?
I was hoping. But... Yeah, I was hoping that the minute we've wrapped up Champions League, which we've done now,
you can start
that we would announce a player. Maybe that was wishful thinking, but announce a signing. I don't know, a midfielder, a Mateus Fernandez, an Alex Scott. Announce the signing that they'll be joining us in the summer, right? Because it has been done before where City announce a player, like the season's not even finished and they've got a player announced that's going to come in. Yeah. And already you're thinking, blimey, okay, we're doing the right things. They don't even know who the next manager is. So we're at a place where we need to be striking while the iron's hot. Yes, we don't need to be rushing decisions, but we haven't got that much fucking time.
Well, I keep saying, don't forget we've got a World Cup, and that really impacts on your signings if you don't start getting things done early. Because you've got to, especially if you're getting a top class player who plays for a good national team, the likelihood is that they're going to go quite far in the competition. And then they're going to want a break afterwards. And then before you know it, they're on catch-up because they haven't gone on pre-season. And again, like it's just said there, we don't even know what coach we've got, do we? So
exactly.
It's a shambles so far.
Jonathan comes in and says, David, how come you're so hard on the developing player like Manu? He's really supposed to be an attacker, so isn't he developing well? Listen.
The agenda's real. That's why, you see, Jonathan. The agenda's real.
Dan calls it an agenda. I'm just saying I don't think he's as good as what everyone makes out. Like, what other midfield does this fella get into? I understand he's developing. And I understand his performance since Amorim has improved and he's gotten better. I said this on Dan's show. You compare Paul Pogba at that age, and he's nowhere near him in terms of talent, technical ability, everything. Pogba's 10 times the player at that age for me. Now, I'm happy to be proven wrong. Is he improving under Carrick? Yes. Is he the answer where, put Mainu in Chelsea's midfield now? He doesn't get in it. Put Mainu in Liverpool's midfield now. He doesn't get in it. Put Mainu in Arsenal's midfield. I mean, Zubamendi's absolutely fallen off a cliff, so maybe he does. But I'm not sure he gets in it. Now, I understand he's developing. I just don't think he's where everyone thinks he's at. I hope he gets to where everyone thinks he's at. That's all I'm saying. I'm not against him. Man, that goal against Liverpool, I came on here and said, fantastic. What a finish. And that's what I've actually always said he's good at. Few 1-2s, appearing in the box and slotting it. And I'm glad you've come in with this. Pogba was world class at 18, and he was. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying Mainu has to follow that same trajectory. But what I'm saying is everyone's telling me Mainu's like a must, he must play, and he's the answer to our midfield. He's not. We got to sign at least 3 or 4 players. We can't be putting this all on Mainu to be the answer to our midfield, is all I'm saying. How much are you selling Ahmad and Kobe for, and what are you replacing it? I mean, Ahmad, we're going to get onto this. I mean, pretty sharpish. We're already 48 minutes in. I ain't going to lie to you, Jonathan. I'd take Rashford back right now ahead of Ahmad. And our team, and this is maybe me forgetting the past, forgetting how bad Rashford was. He slotted a fantastic goal last night. He's just won La Liga. His first title. Right? I would take him. I would take him back ahead of Ahmad. Ahmad is shocking. He is well off it. A few more comments and we'll move on. Mainu and Pogba are different types. Compare him to Scholes at that age and he's better. Mainu gets into City, Liverpool, Arsenal and Chelsea's midfield. I disagree that he's better than Scholes at that age, and I'd also disagree that he gets into any of those midfields. But listen, I might be wrong. Opinions vary. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. I don't see it. And the reason I don't see it is just yesterday's game showed me that if he doesn't have someone next to him that can do a bit more running, that can do a bit more, what's the word, breaking up play, he doesn't showcase his skills. But maybe I'm asking too much of it, Mainu. That's all it is. Maybe I'm expecting too much.
I think it's probably just asking too much of one person though as well. Because I think it don't matter who you've got in. You could have prime Roy Keane. Obviously, it'd do way better than what Mainu was showing, but it'd still struggle because I think we forget how much running a Scholes might have done, or positional play, for example, around him, a Giggs. People used to tuck in as well on the when they're in defence. We'd tuck in before it got to the back line, and you need players to do that so that it makes the pitch smaller. And I think if the pitch is really opened up, you've got no chance when the balls are coming from all angles. You're just like, what do I do? And I think there was a lot of that. When I didn't watch the whole game. I watched some of it when I got on and got back home, and I could see what was going on in it. Would just the support wasn't there.
I mean, Granit Xhaka did a better job than Mainu in midfield on Saturday.
But again, it's
what we're going to say, Mainu's not that type of player. That's not Mainu's game. For fuck's sake, what the fuck does he do then? You know?
It's not so much that. I think if Xhaka, although I don't want Xhaka, but if Xhaka was playing for us,
he'd improve our midfield.
We would look better, and Mainu would look better.
Yeah,
because you'd have somebody that knows the position and is disciplined. I think the difference is you've got a runner in Mount that's running around, not really knowing what he's doing, and didn't have a good game, as you've said yourself. So if you've got someone that doesn't know the position, that hasn't really played there before, and has a bad game, you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean,
no matter who you are.
This comment kills me, Michael. For God's sake, he played in the Euros for England. Oh my God, you know. He played for England in the Euros. This is what I hear all the time. He's an international player. He played for England. I mean, what did England achieve in those Euros? Absolutely fuck all. If you don't win it, you don't win it. That's it. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean about Mainu playing for England in the Euros. I take your point on Mainu, guys, yeah? And you know what? Maybe I've not articulated it properly, and Jonathan's helped me here. You expect more from the quality you see, David. So you do rate Kobe more than you say. I think that's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, because we work in absolutes a lot of the time, don't we? We work in absolutes where if you don't, I shouldn't probably say it that way, but if you sort of show that you think Kobe's not there, it can look like, oh my God, because it's a little bit like, I mean, I know you put a number to it with Pogba, but normally, if you're talking about two players, I hate it when someone says, like the Scholes and Gerrard debate really quickly. When I say Scholes is better than Gerrard, and if I mean that, I don't mean that Gerrard was shit, by the way. I just mean that I just rate Scholes more.
Yeah.
But Gerrard, I can appreciate you're a really good player. So I think sometimes we work in absolutes where it's, oh my God, you're saying that Gerrard shit. No, I'm just saying that I rate Scholes. That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to compare Giggs to somebody else, another winger. I just saying that I really loved Giggs and I thought it was, Hall of Famer. Doesn't mean that I don't think Overmars was good or Perez was good. I'm just saying that Giggs for me, Hall of Famer. So I think that's what it is a little bit with Mainu a little bit. I don't think you think he's completely shit. I just think you just think
no. I just don't think he's at the level that
and he may not reach the pinnacle of Pogba. I get that.
That's it. Forget the pinnacle of Pogba, the pinnacle of Darren Fletcher, for goodness sakes.
Well,
and that's not me saying anything extreme, in my opinion. He needs to do a lot more. And I understand he's not in the same sort of teams that these players that I've mentioned were, but neither is Bruno Fernandes. We can't make excuses. He needs to do better. And Michael coming in and saying Mainu is an 8, Xhaka is a 6. It's like comparing Pirlo to a Zidane. I'm still from a time where a midfielder's a midfielder. And there's non-negotiables that midfielders need to do.
Yeah,
Was Scholes awful at tackling? Yes, he was. But was he there to make the tackle? Yes, he was. He wasn't getting ran through. He wasn't leaving holes in the midfield. He wasn't chasing back. Do you understand my point there, though?
No, I get your point. I
Yeah.
think sometimes, though, as you'll know yourself, is that your defense is even better when you've got the ball as well. So I think, again, if you've got a look at some of our last games, even against Sunderland, I know it was close in the end, but they had 51% possession, we had 49. So what I mean is that if you're under the cosh more often than not, you are going to look worse. Whereas if you're a team, again, City sometimes they've got the ball so much, Rodri is just purring through games. The height of Rodri, not Rodri now. He's purring through games because they're tiki-taka. They've got the ball most of the game. They've got 70-odd possession of the ball. So you're doing less work. You've got less load. And I think you have to put that into the equation as well. The less load and less work has to come into it. I get your point, by the way, though, in terms of just those players of that era. But that load has to come into it as well, though. It really does. Just like our goalkeeper, if he's under the cosh a lot, he's going to concede eventually because he's under the cosh. If his defence is strong in front of him, he'll get more clean sheets. So it's a little bit like that across the team. Looks like if your striker gets more chances, he'll score more goals.
Yeah,
and we don't put balls into the box for our strikers. So there's a lot of that going on across the field. That's the problem.
I don't know if you agree. I don't know if the chat agrees, right? And it's great we're having a debate on this, that none of us are agreeing here. That's what it's about. That's what we need, right? But for me, I feel like having an old school mentality of signing midfielders that are old school in the sense of they can do a bit of everything. It
just don't work like that these days, though. That's the thing. I get your point.
What, in my opinion, is going to take us forward. We need players that can do box to box, that can tackle, that are fit, that are technically good, so that we finally break this midfield curse of ours.
I get that.
He's an 8.
I know, but if you listen to some of the interviews of the players, they're calling themselves that. They're saying, I'm more, like, you might get a Micah Richards or Henri or someone like that likes to talk about positions, and you might say, where do you see yourself? And they actually say numbers. They're not saying, I prefer myself as a left midfield, like a Gerrard might say, or right midfield, like a Scholes might say, for example. They're saying, I'm a 6, I'm an 8. I can play both roles. I can play the 6 or the 8. And it's like, we've all got entrenched in this 6, 8, 10, blah, 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 blah. And I'm with you. Winger, midfielder.
Bro, maybe I'm not moving with the times, and maybe I haven't been.
But players are calling themselves numbers now, though.
I haven't been infected by Pep Guardiola. Yeah, I haven't been infected by Pep Guardiola. But for me, a midfielder was a midfielder, and what a top midfielder does a bit of both: breaks up play, tracks back, helps the defense. Also helps your team tick over, helps your team play better football. Also arrives in the box, helps with goals, wins headers in the box, win headers in midfield. A midfielder does it all.
That's why I loved Chelsea under Mourinho's first times, with some of the players that were in that engine room. My God, they could do everything, I felt.
So I think this is highlighting for me why I am not the biggest Kobe Mainoo fan.
But unfortunately,
for me, he doesn't tick that box. Now,
I do get what you're saying, but
to finish this on this Kobe Mainoo,
it's the era we're in. Yeah, it's the era.
Does Mainoo? Do you see Mainoo? And I'll put this out to the chat.
Yeah.
Do you see Mainoo? What I just explained now, that old school type midfielder. Maybe I just need to move with the times, and I need to get a bit more knowledge on the current style of play. Yeah. Do you see Mainoo ever achieving that level? Or maybe am I asking too much? That level of being able to tick all those boxes that I just mentioned.
Again, though, some of it, and it might be a cop-out sort of answer, but there has to be more of, it can't just be, Mainoo is just going to go from 0 to 100 and that's it. There has to be the other bits and pieces in play, and you have to accept that we're in an era where players are numbers now. And you also have to accept, as I was saying earlier with the Carrick thing, is that I need to see. So again, we've heard about Carrick talking to Mainoo, and a couple of minute bits that he's apparently given him so far is that positioning, being in the right position to get the ball, for example. Just like you hear, who was it that I was listening to the other day? It was Kyle Walker, and I think I said this before in one of your early shows. He talked about De Bruyne getting the ball on that half turn. He wasn't allowed. Pep didn't allow him to get the ball with his
back to goal.
Yeah. And it was like he had to have the ball run across his body and him run onto it. And it's just little. I mean, Amorim, to be fair to him, was saying bits and pieces that he wasn't happy with, and some of it made sense in terms of positioning was one, and Carrick's been working with Mano on that, and strength. And I think he meant more. You say speed, but I think he meant more mobility and being able to get around the pitch and be in the right position. Again, Amorim was saying, I want you to receive the ball, whether it be on the half turn or whether letting it go across you and set the play. I want you to have the strength to know who's around you, look over your shoulder, do the window wipers sort of thing. I think he can develop that, but he needs to have the right coach there for him to do that. But also, the other piece of that puzzle is the right place to complement that. And I've said it myself, and I am being a bit contradictory here, but I do hate it when people say, as I said before, if Pogba had this person at the side of him, he'd be fantastic. Yeah. But there is still an element that he still needs to have somebody in there that's going to do the 6, because I still strongly feel that Mano's an 8. So I'm not saying that he's going to get to the heights of, because again, that's dependent on the team and the coach and us winning things. But it all comes together. You win things, you get more better players, get more confidence, and you get hold, and then you develop into a team that's got more of the ball than the opposition in the main. You're going to look even better again. You can see certain players where if they're in the wrong combinations or they've been put in a slightly wrong position. I mean, really quickly, remember when we were getting massively carved open in the Ten Hag era?
Yeah.
That was purely because you may not. I mean, Carrick, when he first came in, that's a good example. We were getting ripped open towards the end with Amorim, conceding goals late on, all that sort of stuff. Carrick came in and he tightened up that midfield. He was getting the wide men to come in a bit more narrow and fill in those gaps. Then you've got players that through it, they flourish a bit more when you've got Casemiro's looking a little bit better now and Mano's looking a bit better now. And it's all because of that complimentary from the teammates. So some of that has to come into play as well. And I think it's just, again, going back to your era that I loved as well, is that Keane felt like he'd just say, go on, lads, you go forward. I've got this. I've got this shit.
But he would also go forward and he would also chip in goals. The Juventus game in 1999 is a perfect example, right? He was chipping in with goals, shooting.
As he got older, he dropped back though, didn't he? But in his heyday, he was box to box. He wasn't a 6. He was an 8 if you would have called him a number.
Well, shall I tell you what he was? A top midfielder. That's how I see it.
Because he wouldn't have classed himself as a number.
I don't see it as a 6 or an 8 or whatever the fuck it is nowadays, right?
Yeah.
I see him as a top midfielder, and it's exactly what we need, right? And I mean, this is a fair point from Jonathan. When we start keeping the ball, you're really going to enjoy Kobe's quality.
Yeah,
I don't think you're far.
I agree with.
I don't think you're far wrong, but I'm looking forward to seeing.
I just think the connections thing, he'll get involved in that more.
Look, Pogba got Kante, and they won the World Cup, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
but he had more than that, though.
I wasn't on the train. I wasn't on the train of Pogba. Pogba won them the World Cup, but I mean, he was, he was great. Listen, I liked Paul Pogba,
and don't forget what he had at Juve as well.
I think he was harshly treated. Was Paul Pogba, to be honest? I think he was a lot better for us than people make out. I liked Paul Pogba, I really did. Just a time where, Bruno dug us out of the mud, right?
My best moment with Pogba, there was a season, I can't remember which one it was, where he got injured towards the end of the first half against Everton, and we fell off a cliff in that second half. Up until that point, he had some crazy assists in a row. He was playing out of his skin. That's when I really loved Pogba. And he didn't really have anybody around him. So you've got a point there. He didn't have a strong 6 behind him or anything, because we kept saying Pogba will fly when he gets this 6, and we never got it.
Yeah, and he was still fantastic.
But by then, he was established anyway, though, wasn't he, by then?
Yeah.
He won 21.
Keane saw goals and said, do your thing, I'll watch. Yeah, for sure. You'll forget that City wanted mainly before he signed his first contract. I mean, Real Madrid wanted Euro.
Yeah, I don't mind who wanted who beforehand.
It's fair play, Michael, and I get you
There's a
making your
point there,
points,
but
and I agree with Michael's points. 90% of the time.
yeah.
And I'm not here saying Mainoo's not good enough. I'm just saying that for him to be the answer to our midfield, that's I don't agree with. I think we need a lot more in there.
I think when you say that as almost like a narrative, that's the triggering point for
That is
maybe
it.
the viewers and myself.
Yeah.
When you say Maino's the answer, I've not said it. I don't know if Michael's saying it, but I'm not saying Maino's the answer. But I think there's a lot to come from Maino if we get things right going forward. And that, again, we don't want to go on about that run that he did, but I'm going to mention it. That run he did, we should have finished off with a goal from Ahmad, put it to one side, but that is in his locker to do more further forward. That goal against Liverpool, he's done it against Wolves, he's done it in FA Cup finals or whatever, a Carabao Cup final, where Bruno did that sort of no-look pass and he just finished it off.
Yeah.
Another player might have missed that. He's deadly in those scenarios. He's very calm and he can do more going forward.
We've seen some moments for sure.
Complimentary. There's moments. Not enough to convince you yet, but there's been moments. I get
There's
it.
not enough to convince me, that's all. And I think I'm still stuck on the fact that, Amarim's not playing Mainu. If he plays Mainu, this will all change.
Yeah, I think that's what the problem is there, because I didn't see it that way. I just couldn't understand why he wasn't playing ahead of like an Agate, let's say.
Yeah, little Bruno is the answer. Just get him out of Newcastle. I mean, yeah, to be honest, getting a few midfielders in to complement, I guess, Kobe Mainoo's best attributes is what will put us all on the same page.
He shouldn't necessarily play every single game, though, Maino. Though it's just that we've been relying on him of late. But I don't particularly say that he should be playing every single game. I still think he's in his development phase for me.
Yeah,
I just think he just needs other players to then learn from as well and get better in the game.
To finish up, because I mean we've I don't know how we ended up back
on
Mainu.
The
one Mainu agenda. Mainoo's the only midfielder we have for next season. So why are you not building a midfield around him? Because I just don't necessarily think he's good enough to build around him. And you know what? Dan's just kind of said that should he necessarily be our main midfielder? No. Is he at the point where he should be our main guy? I don't think he is. I think we need to sign top quality and sprinkle Mainu in there. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
But Jonathan, yourself, and Michael kind of suggesting to me, maybe I'm wrong, that this is who we should build around. This should be our pivotal midfielder next season. I'm not quite there with it. But listen, let's see. I could be wrong. And you're right. We have absolutely nothing. And that's what we've been talking about. That's what we've been talking about.
There's no players coming through either.
We're struggling. We are struggling next year. And you're right, Mainoo's not the biggest problem we have. So I do need to rein it in a bit when I start talking about Mainu. Facts. You guys are not wrong there. Quick person I do want to talk about is this fella, scored one of his trademark free kick screamers yesterday. Fantastic goal, by the way. And wins his first ever league title, which is an embarrassment for us as Manchester United.
It really is.
First question, would you take him back? We spoke about this weeks ago, and you were kind of like, no, not sure, not on the wages he's on. Yeah, so funny. Rash back from Jonathan. Would you take him back? Before I go on to the next thing that you sent me, right? You got to try and take what you sent me out of your head. I think you know what I'm talking about. That little
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch on that. I think it's more about. I think I almost need another question to this or another part to the question. So, would I take him back just cold like that
ahead of Ahmad?
I could. Yeah, exactly. Because if you don't quantify it with other bits, I can easily say no. But then if it was a case of take him back because we need someone on the left, and I still think we need more of a touch winger on the left because I do believe that Mbermo is more of a touch winger on the right, and then Cunha can be sprinkled in here and there or work it out. If someone's telling me, right, we're not going to have much money to spend on the wing, we'll get rid of Ahmad. We could bring Rashford back. That'll save us some money. And then we could spend some of that money that we get on Ahmad and whatever other savings on other places that are more important. I'd be inclined to say yes to that. I know that's going to sound shockwaves because obviously I've talked about his wages, which I still talk about. I've talked about his attitude, which is all stuff that I'm not going to put into this equation. Just off ability, looking at what he's done this season, I think he's got 28 GNA at Barcelona.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I'm sure it's something like that.
I mean, that league is fucking shit anyway. But anyway.
I mean, I get it, but you've still got to do it. And he still beat a quality keeper with that free kick as well.
Yeah.
And it was, and again,
he's got that in him. He's got that in him, hasn't he? And Ahmad doesn't have that in him. So just that based alone.
Yeah, the way he strikes a ball is very good. The way he strikes
Ahmad
a ball.
have a bit more ball retention than he does? I'd say.
Yeah, of course he does. Of course he does.
But overall, across the season, I think you're going to get 8 to 10 goals from Rashford.
Yeah, I just think the only thing that used to disappoint me, or the main thing that used to disappoint me about Rashford, was his short passing was horrible.
Yeah.
It could spray
very true
40, 50, 60 yarder.
Very true.
Outside of the foot, inside of the foot, whatever. But short passing game, it were awful. So I haven't really watched his short passing game in Spain because you don't La Liga, you don't really get the games over here. I haven't found how to really watch it properly, but
it's like Premier Sports or something like that.
Yeah,
funny
there's
channel,
always
but anyway.
subscriptions and stuff. But but to try and answer your question in short, I'd say yes over Ahmad if that was the choice. Yes, overall, taking loads of other factors in it in terms of other things, maybe no. But just to answer this particular question, I'd say yes. Because he's a winner now. He's coming back as a winner. I know he won a couple of things for us, but that's winning a La Liga is real deal. I know it's not a great league at the minute, but you still got to get past some tricky teams in the middle. You know, even like Getafes and stuff like that can be tricky.
But he played against Real Madrid yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And Real Betis and players like teams like that can be tricky. And obviously, if you're off your game, then Atletico Madrid could sneak a La Liga win. So it's not straightforward, but it is a lot easier than it has been over the years. But it's not straightforward. You still got to do it. So I think where he's at, what he's done this season, getting that La Liga win, over Ahmad, yes.
You take him back over Ahmad, yeah.
Over Ahmad, yes. Yeah. Because he's got more to his game that we need on the wing.
I've kind of answered my answer. He wasn't great when he was at us, and he wasn't in the right mental space. And obviously going there and being around players like Yamal and the weather, the food, God knows, the way the clubs run. I don't know. I don't know the answer. Weather plays a big part in anyone's mindset, I'll be honest. We're all human. You go somewhere,
coach as well.
You know, even here in the UK, right, when the sun's out, I mean, it's one of the best places to be, but it's very rare it's out. But you're just in a better mood, you know. You want to do things, you want to work out, you want to go get something to eat outside. You know what I mean? You want to do a barbecue. And I know these guys are professionals, but they're still human. Just going there, better weather, better vibe, better atmosphere, challenging for the league, and he's performed better than where he was performing for United.
Yeah.
If he comes back to Manchester, maybe that falls off a cliff. But what I will say is he still has moments where he puts it top corner. He still has moments where he gets in behind and he's dangerous. And I think he's way better than Ahmad, in my opinion, over a course of a season in what he delivers. So I would take him back. Before I click off this and obviously change my answer to that, the fella that's behind him, obviously he wasn't actually behind him. Someone's kind of imprinted that into the image. There's a petition going on, and I said this earlier in the show. And would you take this fella?
Mbappe.
Yeah, if you were Man United now, and there's an opportunity to sign Kylian Mbappe, would you blow the bank and take him?
I think it just feels like there's caveats to things, don't there? But I think it'd be very difficult to turn him down. And I can't lie, I've got to be honest here. if we're linked to Mbappe, so let's say Ornstein or Fabrizio saying Manchester United are in advanced negotiations with Mbappe's camp and Real Madrid are open to sell him, I am getting excited. I'll be honest. I'm getting excited. I just think I don't want to criticize anybody, but I just think if you're not getting excited about that, excited.
I mean, Jonathan,
what gets you excited?
Jonathan's come in and said, "Are we talking about after talking about wages?" And wages play a big part. But I'm a football fan, Jonathan. And
I'm one of those
Mbappe's in a Man United shirt next season, I'm going to be excited.
Yeah, I'm one of those people though where I do think about wages because I think sometimes that does impact performance and it can put a negative thing over the club when you've got players that are looking at this player thinking, oh, look what salary you're on and you're shit or whatever. But if you bring in a real deal, just like Kane, if Kane says, I'll come to you, but I want 450,000
I'll tell you what,
a week.
I'd still take Kane now. I'd
say, you know what, you want 450, take 500. Because I tell you what, if you perform how you're performing at Bayern Munich, come in, year or two, come in.
I tell you what,
I don't care about that for the right player.
Yeah, Kane, I watched him in the the semi-final, and he's still a top player, right?
Yeah.
And I tell you what, it would be a shrewd bit of business to get him in next season to complement Sesko, teach him the ropes. Still probably score 15 to 20 goals for you. It would be a shrewd bit of business to find a way to get him back. But to answer the Kylian Mbappe question, I don't think it's realistic. Like I said, if I was Arsenal, I'd go all out and bring Thierry Henry 2.0 basically back to their team. But blimey, if there's any, I mean, I think this may sound crazy. Would you sacrifice a midfield signing to get him in? Tough, isn't it?
What a question. Again, though, it's tough because we're not linked to anyone in midfield. So it's like it's looking dire as it is. So that's tough. It's one of those, isn't it? I think we have done stupid things in the past where we've gone after big names. But I just think when you've got Mbappe, who is still, if he settles, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's got a lot of goals at Real Madrid, but if he settles at a club, he's still young enough to go even further. And I think if he could adapt to the Premier League with his speed, with his skill, with his eye for goal, and his hunger, generally speaking, I just think if you've got the opportunity to sign Mbappe, which is one of the best players in the world,
you have to do it.
No to that. I just don't think you can say no to that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think we've. I mean, I would think about Lewandowski the other day because I'm sure someone said that he's out of contract. I'd probably have him.
That would be a shrewd bit of business as well.
To help with Sesko. But anyway, going back to Mbappe, I just don't think you can say no. Putting his troubles to one side, I don't think you can say no.
Yeah, he'd be worth 3 midfielders, Jonathan says. So what then?
Yeah,
this is the problem, right?
You can't say no to. I don't think you can say no to Vinny Jr. either.
Yeah.
Vinny Jr. either. I think, but Mbappe in terms of goal scoring, you've got to take him. You've got to take him. I know that Enrique didn't rate him, and I know that you always hope, don't you, that player just is different at your club. It's like with anything, just like Tchouaméni, for example. Yes, he's whacked Valverde. But it's quality enough to put it to one side and think, well, maybe he won't do that at our club, so let's bring him in. And I feel the same about Mbappe. It's like, like when a player is putting in a transfer request and he's kicking up a stink and he's going on strike. You're just thinking he's doing that for our team. He wants to come to our team so badly. He's going on strike. You don't think about the fact that he'll do it to you in a few years. You just think about here and now. Comes to Manchester United and he badly wants to come. And that's why he's striking. And that's all you think about. Same with Mbappe. I just think, I don't care what he's done at Real Madrid. Quality player, bring him in. So I think you've got to say yes. I'm sorry, you've got to say
Jonathan comes in and says, help for a striker. That cost how much? No, I agree. We paid a lot for Sesko, but he shut my mouth a lot, to be honest. He scored a lot more goals than I thought he was going to when I saw him start.
I'd love Lewandowski as another option. I'd love
Jonathan,
that.
we've done it throughout the years. Brought in a Henrik Larsson, brought in a Michael Owen, brought in an Igalo to help. You know,
To
you
help.
mentioned it earlier.
Big asked.
We need a squad, right?
Yeah, we need a squad.
Oh, believe me, I have given him the Kobe energy. You know, I've been calling Sesko a lamppost, and if he doesn't score with his first touch, his second touch is pedestrian, absolutely pedestrian. I give them all the same treatment. But what I'm saying is, I don't have people telling me that Sesko's the answer to us winning the league and getting Man
I don't know if
United
anybody's
back.
saying that.
You know, I mean,
like
I'm not
Sesko, but I always say he's not hungry enough.
But what I'm saying is that's why I haven't given it the same Kobe energy. Is what I'm saying, right? Apparently, he's come and said this though, right? If I was a magician, I would stay at Barcelona. So here we are saying we take him back, and look what the Wally's saying.
Yeah.
So the truth is, stay where you are.
Can you blame him at this stage? Can you blame him at this stage?
Truth is, stay where you are. And I hope he is a magician. And with that performance in that game, that technically won them the league, they can put up 50 million for the fella.
Well,
60 million for the fella.
Aren't they?
I don't know what how much we're gonna get for this fella.
26 million in our cash, I think, in UK cash.
Jesus, that's
it's
awful.
It's about 26 million-ish.
That's just awful business. That's awful business.
Where he was at, there's probably not much you could do where he was at, but look what he's done this season. I mean, I know he's been on the bench quite a bit and come off the bench, but he's made an impact here and there. He's scored a few goals, he's got a few assists. You know, I think he's not quite the Rashford that we remember when he was at his height. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he'll ever get there, but he's still got something to offer though. And I think he's worth now, like you've just said there, we should be getting 50 million for him at the very least now.
For sure. Jonathan comes in again, bro. If anything, we know what a proper striker is. What we got ain't it? I agree, but you know, like me earlier, I'm going to not contradict myself, but you know, I'm very much like we need to get some old school midfielders, back in the day midfielders, where their job is to be a midfielder. And then the comeback to that is it's changed, it's evolved. We've got 8s now, we've got 6s now, we've got number 10s now. You know, we've got all of these different roles. Yeah. Where are you going to find a Van Nistelrooy now? These players do not exist. A Crespo, a Vieri, a Claudio Lopez. I can name them all out there, man. Absolute legends. Absolute legends that used to play that position. They don't exist anymore. No. And this is what you get. You get Sesko's. It's very, very difficult. Anyway, final subject, briefly. It's flipping Arsenal Arsenal business yesterday. Just to be clear, I think he was going to spill that, whether that geezer was going to touch his arm or not. That's my opinion. I think he was flapping at it. He's rooted to the ground there. He's got the other goalkeeper coming in about to head at the ball and disrupt him. Do I think it's a foul? Yes, I do. However, behind him, which is not shown in this clip, and I couldn't find a clip of it, you've got Declan Rice. You know, WWE Backlash was on the night before, right? We'll call it WrestleMania so everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say WWE. Yeah, Rice was absolutely wrestling a West Ham player down to the floor. A foul that started before the Raya foul. Even though loads of Arsenal fans are telling me the Raya foul is the first foul that's being committed. It's the first foul that's being committed. So that's the foul we go off of. You've got Trossard there grabbing Pablo, not looking at the ball whatsoever. Yeah. So he's fouling Pablo, which could be contributing to the reason Pablo's trying to get some leverage to jump. Yeah. That's why he's got his arm on thing. You've got Rice fouling behind there. Yeah. Fine. I agree. The Raya situation is a foul. I'll give it to them. But if you're going to call that a foul, you pull it back for a penalty for what Declan Rice is committing right before this. And you give West Ham a penalty. This, for me, was a shocking decision. It was the right decision to disallow the goal, but it was wrong to completely ignore the fact that Declan Rice was fouling the player in behind. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, very similar to what you've said there in a way. I think what obviously I'm going to moan that they've not been consistent, because obviously there was that image where when you go back to our first game against Arsenal start of the season when they were climbing all over Bayern.
Oh, don't you worry, mate. Don't you worry.
There we are. So there's that, and they've impeded our goalkeeper. Nothing was called. Did they score from that?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did score from it. And you know who I blamed? You know who I blamed? Because I thought football's changed, right? I blamed Mason Mount for allowing Saliba to be in between him and Bayern, knowing Bayern is a weak link. I said, if you know Bayern is a weak link, how are you allowing Saliba to get on top of him? But guess what? Little did I know that the referees are supposed to help us. I didn't know that. I didn't know that referees are supposed to help you in this situation. I didn't know that.
I mean, there's multiple ways of looking at it, but just trying to put the and how he's foul. Yeah, exactly. There's loads of examples of this where the decision's gone the wrong way in Arsenal's favour at times, especially in the earlier part of the seasons when they were
in their favour
with the bus stop approach. They were fouling constantly. I mean, look at the stuff that Gabriel's been doing. The fouls he's been making and getting away with it. But yeah. And obviously, don't get me wrong, the decision in its isolation is correct. They've got to the right decision.
Correct.
Because he is impeded, he is fouled. Obviously, there's other things going on with this, though, as you've said. So for me, if he's fouled, we get it. But let's go and look at what Rice was doing. Maybe not so much Trossard, because you might think it cancels each other out, because Trossard's fouling that player, I can't remember his name, and that player's fouling Raya. So you could probably cancel that out to a certain extent. But what you should be doing is taking it back to Rice, who was fouling before this happened.
That's it. The player's running in behind. He's running in behind here. Yeah, it's blocked out here at the moment, unfortunately. I tried to get there, but I didn't have enough time, right? And Rice straight away is behind him, right? Hugging him, behind him, you know. I mean, I'm going to say pause after this, because that's how he's hugging him, right? He's right behind him, like flipping, you know, like he's found a fella in jail or something, God knows, right? And he stays behind him all the way. And then the West Ham player, I don't even remember who it was, throws Rice off him, like, get off me.
Yeah.
And Rice ends up in the net. Yeah. Ironically, that's who the ball hits.
Yeah.
But this is the point. They just want to give Arsenal the league. For fuck's sake, half of their goals this season has come from this approach. Now, if you're going to disallow this goal, if you're going to send West Ham down, then surely you've got to deduct at least 12 points off of Arsenal. They've gained how many points off of this? I mean, this alone will tell you. This alone will tell you.
That game should have at least ended 0-0, at the very least. So,
you know, this is the first game of the fucking season.
That's 2 points there straight away.
This is the first game of the season, you know? And for Arsenal to basically be handed the league with this. And again, fine, I agree it's a foul. Like I think this is a foul. Like I think this is a foul. Yeah. Like I think this is a foul.
Yeah.
But you've not called any of the others a foul, and you've called this one a foul. Fine. Yeah. You want to improve? You want to call this a foul? No problem. Look at Declan Rice committing the foul before this and give West Ham a penalty. Give them an opportunity to set the record straight. You know, Michael's come in here. It's 21 points they've gained from this approach. It's horrific. It's horrific. We've been calling them Rugby Union FC all fucking season. And for them to be saved.
Well, even if it's a fraction of those points, it's still enough of a swing to put them where they are now, and that's the disgrace about it. So again,
for them to win the league, I mean, they won the league.
I mean, if they want to win it like this, and I'm sure they won't complain.
The point is, though, Dan, for them to win the league on a disallowed goal.
Yeah.
A goal.
Pretty much that's what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, they've won the league on a disallowed goal. They've sent West Ham down, basically kept Spurs up with this decision.
Yeah.
On a disallowed goal, these are the goals they've been scoring all season. It's the reason they're top of the league. It's such
this was a massive call, this, because like you've just said there, the implications are if you rightfully say it's a foul, but then think, actually, I'm going to take it back to where the first foul happened. This is Rice. You get a penalty, and it's a it's by chance whether West Ham score that penalty. But I think they deserve to at least have that chance to seal their fate.
That's it. That's what I'm saying.
Score the penalty or miss the penalty, and I just think on top of that, you're now putting Arsenal in pole position to win the league. On top of that, you are now relegating West Ham. On top of that, you are keeping Spurs in the league as well, who deserved for me to go down. So there's a lot from that one decision. It's caused so much stuff in one decision that.
Yeah.
It's all right at the start of the season, as it did it against us. You don't see the impact. You don't feel the impact. But when it's right towards the end like this, it's a massive impact.
The crazy thing is how this has gone in their favour.
Yeah.
And this has gone in their favour.
Yeah.
It's all going in their favour. You know?
Yeah.
And listen, people have said that Man United have had the refs in their pockets all those years and a lot of things went in their favour. But I tell you what, man, these guys have been doing rugby union all season. And for them to win it like this, doesn't go down well for me. And it's unfortunate. It looks like they're going to be the Premier League champions. I hope PSG at least put them in their place in the final. Because I just don't see Burnley doing anything against them, and I don't see Crystal Palace doing anything against them. Although they look very nervous, mate. I tell you that much. They look very nervous.
That up until they scored, which wasn't. Obviously, Trossard does stuff like that, doesn't he? But it was still quite a bit of a flukish goal. So up until that point, they weren't looking good for a win.
Odegaard did well. Odegaard did well there, to be fair. He was quite in a game where there was no quality. I watched it, mate, I watched this game like this, right? Because I hate watch Arsenal. In a game where there was no quality, he's come on and just been composed enough to be like, right. Little 1-2, right, calm, head up. Let me pick someone out here. No panic whilst everyone was just so chaotic.
Yeah, fair enough.
And he's just put it on a plate for Trossard.
Up to that point, I didn't see where Arsenal were going to win the game, really.
No, neither did I. Neither did I.
I mean, especially when Fernandes sort of got through on goal as well.
I should have finished that.
But anyway.
Yeah, anyway, exactly. Sort of I mean, they look nervous. They don't look great, but they're getting over the line somehow, some way, despite... I mean, shit like this happening. But what I will say is, it's not a given. It's not a given. I think there might still be some twists. I think there might still be some twists. But I don't know if Man City will win all their games. That's the problem. Bournemouth, Aston Villa still.
Bournemouth is a tough game. They'll still be going for some form of European finish. So that'll be a tough game, that.
And they've got Crystal Palace as well. And I've heard that Crystal Palace get something like, I don't know the figure now, 10, 15, 20 million if Eze wins the league. So Crystal Palace won't be putting up much of a performance against Arsenal in the final game of the season. Unfortunate. Right, that's been 90 minutes, guys. I mean, it's gone fast. It's been emotional.
Like a full football match.
Yes, it's been a great show as always. Thanks so much for being here, Dan. Guys, please go and subscribe to Dan, and I'm sure most of the guys that are in here have done so already. Thanks to Michael, Jonathan, SJG at the very start for coming in here and dropping comments and keeping engaged, keeping us ticking over with things to talk about and debate. I appreciate you guys massively. We shall catch you on the next one. It's been emotional in the emotion room. Thanks again, guys. See you guys very, very soon. See you later.